One. Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line. Corey and Benny. I'm still in the trap house. Benny is down the shore with no furniture. You know what I'm saying? Grinding it out, Benny. It must be tough down the beach by yourself.
Honestly, this is like a vacation for me. I don't have the kids here. I got nothing else going on, which has been good because I don't have a TV yet. The TV's coming today. I just found out the couch is going to probably be delayed another week or so. So it's definitely a grind. But the good thing is I have nothing else to do but sit here and stare at friggin' stats on my computer, which is all I've done for the last 2 days.
I remember during Hurricane Sandy, my sister's home was beat up. Well, the home area was my sister's area was hit pretty hard living out there on Long Island. And, you know, after a while with no power, it got so bad where she was like, at the time she didn't have the daughter. It was just her, her son and my brother-in-law. She was like, I'm taking Austin and I'm going into the city. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, well, I'm going to stay out here and hold the fort down. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Benny, by the time I went over there the day that they turned the lights on, the day that the power came back on, which was like 7 days later, I went over that joint. He was like Tom Hanks in that movie where he was stranded. He had the big crazy beard. He was looking around like, get out of here. Leave me alone. I'm like, yo, son, relax, son. He was
talking to volleyballs and shit.
Yeah, exactly. He was in pretty bad shape, yo. I was like, man, son, you should have came into the city. Yeah, I just got the house, and he was like, I wasn't gonna let nothing happen to the brand new crib. You know what I'm saying?
See, the one thing that I'm happy about is the first thing I did, I had them come literally the day we closed to set up the internet. Yeah. So at least I can get on the computer. Like, again, it sucks that we don't have the TV yet. It's coming today. But, like, you know, I was able to watch all the games on my computer and on my phone yesterday. So, like, again, is it ideal? No, it's really not ideal. I'm sitting on a freaking outside lounge patio chair watching games on my phone and my computer. But, you know, it could be much worse.
No doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? So there you go right there. Giannis, last night, NBA awards go down last night. Real interesting awards. You have the Defensive Player of the Year, non-American athlete. You have the MVP, non-American athlete. The Rookie of the Year, another international athlete. And I think it might be one more. That was won by an international player. The Defensive Player of the Year, the MVP, the Rookie of the Year. So I mean, maybe that's just about it. But listen, international ball players got it done in 2018. You know what I'm saying? Rudy Gobert on the defensive end, Luka Doncic, and then you had Giannis Antetokounmpo win the MVP
and most improved player, right? Wasn't that Pascal? He's from Canada.
Yes, that's right. That's the one I forgot. Pascal Siakam, Spicy P. He's from Africa. He's from Cameroon.
Oh, I thought he was from Canada.
No, he plays for Canada.
Okay. No, he's never been American. He's been Cameroon to Canada.
He's never had a chance to live in, not that I know of. You know what I'm saying? But no, let's start with the MVP. I saw a lot of people making cases for James Harden. Harden had a great season, but Giannis was on the best team in the league. Giannis led the best team in the league this year. I think the right call was Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, those were definitely the two guys that were up for it. I wouldn't have had a problem if they went James Harden the other way either. But, you know, again, to me, Giannis was the best player in basketball this year. Absolutely dominant rebounding, was able to score. Defensively, he was great as well. You know, I think that's really the thing that gives it to him over Harden. You know, James Harden is never going to be on anybody's all-defensive team.
No,
you know,
that's true.
Giannis is locked down, and he can lock down basically any position on the floor if you really needed him to.
But what you talk about that, but a lot of people say that James Harden revolutionized offense in the NBA.
True.
And that's what I'm telling people right now. When this FIBA World Cup starts later on this year, James Harden in the international setting, Benny, they're not gonna be able to stop him.
No. And I mean, the three-point line is a little bit closer too. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are going to help him out there. And I have no problem with that. And you're right. James Harden is arguably the most dynamic offensive player we have seen. You know, I mean, people have said he is the best one-on-one player, the hardest guy to guard, the hardest guy to stay in front of. He's got all these different step-back moves. He can He can step to the side. He can step to the back. He knows how to use his body and create space, whether it's to get off a jump shot or even just going to the basket and leaning into somebody, bouncing off of them and finishing layups. Nobody else can do what he can do going to the basket. But there's more to basketball than just being able to score.
True.
Like I said, Giannis absolutely controls games with rebounds. And we saw it when we were taking the rebounding totals in in those series all the way along. Giannis, 15, 18, 19 rebounds a game. Just, you miss a shot, you get one chance, and that's it. That's part of the reason why their defense was so good. His weak side help defense coming over with his long arms, getting steals, getting blocks. Even the ones that you don't get a steal or block, just having that long arm and that long frame and altering guys' shots or forcing guys who thought they had a wide open layup to kick the ball out for a three, to maybe a not good three-point shooter who Giannis was guarding that they left. There's just so many things to his game that he helps out. And like I said, if Harden would have won this award, I wouldn't have been arguing that Giannis should have won it. But at the same point in time, I think they were the two best players. And I do think Giannis had a slightly better season. So I don't think there's any reason, to kind of knock Giannis for winning this award or to say Harden got screwed. I think it's two great players, and Giannis just edged them out.
No doubt about it. Looking forward to next year's MVP battle and MVP race, I think you'll see LeBron James be back towards the top if he's healthy. I also think that you'll see Steph Curry. Obviously, if the Golden State Warriors can figure out a way to win 50 games, that's going to be relied heavily on Steph Curry. As you know, KD and Clay won't be there. I think those probably are two guys that get back in the mix. Of course, you can never count out Giannis, who just won this year, and James Harden. I look for that to be the four people going after that most valuable player award in 2020, at least to start. Guys like Kawhi Leonard and, some of the other top players in the league, they're just not going to play enough games, you know what I'm saying, to garner serious consideration, in my opinion, Benny.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's an interesting name who you didn't mention either is Anthony Davis.
Yeah, you're right. You're very good. I don't know if he plays enough games either, though.
Yeah, well, he's always hurt. That's true.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is going to win the MVP for the 37 games that he's available and on the court.
Load management is going to be something that's going to be trending over the course of the next season. Because obviously you saw it worked out very good with the Toronto Raptors and the way they managed Kawhi Leonard. Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic gets the Rookie of the Year over Trae Young. Man, I tell you what, Benny, I didn't see the final vote, but I would guess these two probably – I think this might have been closer than the MVP.
Trae Young had an amazing second half of the year, but he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year, which is what I think –
it was very low.
Yeah, which is what I think was really the ultimate reason. I mean, listen, we talk about it a lot, this trade, on this show. This is one of those trades where nobody's upset. Everybody walked away happy. Everybody got a good player. Everybody got the piece that they needed to kind of build around. Again, there can only be one winner. Luka edged him out. I think Luka deserved to edge him out. I think he had a slightly better season than Trae Young. But that's no knock on Trae Young by any stretch of the imagination. I think both of them are going to be very good players in this league for a long time to come. And like I said, one of those trades where neither side is upset about it. But Luka did deserve to win it.
Are the Dallas Mavericks a playoff team next year?
Are the Dallas Mavericks a playoff team? Depends on whether the Dallas Mavericks stay healthy and what they do in the offseason here. Because they do have a little bit of money to spend, so they can bring somebody in. I don't know if they have enough money to go get a max contract kind of guy.
Yeah, the player that they've honed in on is Kemba Walker.
I don't understand that at all. I'm just being serious. Like, Luke is better with the ball in his hand. So why would you want to go get another guy who needs the ball in his hand? Now, get me wrong, I love Kemba Walker. He's a great player. But, why do you see, like, here's the thing. A lot of these NBA teams are just trying to go get the best name they can get and put them together. And that's not how you build a team. You need guys that complement each other and the things that they do. You got a tall, dynamic point guard like Luka Doncic who can play the top of the key. So what you should be trying to do is build a team with a bunch of guys that play the 2, the 3, and the 4 that can rotate positions around. So if you can get a bunch of guys that are big and athletic, you're going to create matchup problems for the other team. Because if you're playing an Atlanta Hawks and Luka Doncic is your point guard, how is Trae Young going to guard Luka Doncic?
100% correct. Yep.
So if you go get a Kemba, you ruin that chemistry. I don't know. I mean, there's a different way I would go about doing it. There's a different way that teams that win go about doing it. Going and getting two guys that do exactly the same thing, that both need the ball, is what the Houston Rockets did, and that didn't work out for them.
No, it did not.
I don't think that's smart.
A tough fit. I agree with you on that. Pascal Siakam with the most improved player. De'Aaron Fox was also in that mix. De'Aaron Fox had an excellent season in the second year. I look for De'Aaron Fox to continue to grow, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to be tough in the Western Conference to get that Sacramento team into the playoffs, but you did see them fight to the very end this season. We talked about the Rookie of the Year. Your man Budenholzer won the NBA Coach of the Year. I think it was Mike Malone was in the mix too, and so was Doc Rivers. But I think Budenholzer was the one that we kind of saw as the guy. Six-man, slam dunk right there. Lou Willville is all you need to know about that one. He's probably going to win that award a lot. A lot. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he actually said he enjoys coming off the bench because, you know, he gets the ball in his hand and it lets him kind of just, you know, have free reign to go and do the thing. And obviously he's produced off the bench. And listen, people make too much about who starts and who doesn't start. The stat that matters is minutes played. Yep. At the end of the game, he's playing starters minutes, whether he's on the floor for the first couple minutes of the game or not. He's always on the floor for the last couple minutes of the game and all the big points in between. So, you know, don't make too much about Lou Will coming off the bench. This guy is a legit star in the NBA. And like you said, as long as he's coming off the bench, though, he's pretty much the front runner for Sixth Man of the Year. If somebody else wants it, you got to go take it.
He was minus 9,000.
That's still too low. That's still too low.
He was minus 9,000 to win the award. Rudy Gobert wins Defensive Player of the Year back-to-back. That Utah Jazz team next year, Mike Conley and Gobert, are going to be very good. Mike Conley also last night won the NBA's Best Teammate Award. Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert. Listen, the Jazz going to have some heat with them next year. I'm not calling them a contender. I don't think they can make the Western Conference Finals, though.
So this is the one award that I'm not happy about with Rudy Gobert winning the Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert defensively and the Jazz against centers in general were not as good this year as they had been in the past. So, I'm not knocking it. Like, Rudy Gobert is a very good defensive player. He's still a guy in DFS you're like, oh, man, my center's going up against Gobert today. I don't know if I want to do that. But he's not as dominant as he was. So, I don't know. I mean, congratulations to him for winning it, but I don't know. I don't know if he deserved – last year he definitely deserved it. This year, I don't know.
You got a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in the making at Madison Square Garden. The kid Mitchell Robinson is going to be a guy, if he stays healthy and continues on his trend, Benny, that he's going to be an elite rim protector and elite defender in the NBA. So that's something that you can look forward to, New York Knicks fan. Speaking of New York Knicks fans, it looks like the Kyrie Irving could mess this thing up and take Kevin Durant to Brooklyn. We also know that, you know, Kevin Durant could mess up Brooklyn's plan and take Kyrie to NY. KD's on the Knicks is what it's the report, whereas Kawhi Leonard is on, Kyrie Irving is on the Nets. Where does that leave D'Angelo Russell? Some people say back to Los Angeles.
I mean, didn't the reason they got rid of him, wasn't it Magic?
Yeah, Magic played a role in that.
And now Magic's gone. So, I mean, I guess that does open the door for it to happen. I don't know. I mean, again, this is the problem.
I don't want to go back.
Do you think would he want to go back to LA, though? That's the thing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he'd want to go back. If Kyrie does come in, if I'm him, I have two destinations now. Now, if you bring Kyrie in, I'm either going to go to Boston or I'm going to go to the Knicks.
Nobody wants to go to Boston.
No, that's crazy.
Nobody wants to go to Boston.
Nobody wants to play for the Celtics, yo. That's what
again, we talked about this. They've never been able to bring in a big-time free agent. Al Horford was like the biggest one. You know, they got Gordon Hayward over there. But really, they've had all this money, all this draft capital. They've done nothing with it. I don't think they're going to wind up doing anything with it. The way that
fan base might be hurting the team.
You know, the way that they have been treating players over the last couple of years. You know, look what they did to Isaiah Thomas. You know, look at the way they treated him. You know, Terry Rozier wanted nothing to do. There was no chance he was re-signing with the Celtics. He wanted nothing to do with them, even with Kyrie leaving town. Like, that's what I'm saying. Guys are literally running away. Horford opted out. Like, guys do not want to be up there in Boston. But the interesting one that you mentioned is, yeah, D'Angelo Russell moving across town to the Knicks is not crazy.
No, that's not. It's not crazy. You know, listen, we got a couple of days really now before the madness kicks off next week. This time, there'll be some moving and shaking with some of the big names. Obviously, Kevin Durant, even with the torn Achilles, is still the top. It's still the top ticket on the board, followed by Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, guys like that. But you know, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out because he's the player that's going to get. He's in a good position right now to cash out.
Now, you're a Knicks fan. So, obviously, you know, Kyrie would be the guy that's on the top of your list and all that. But if Kyrie does sign with the Nets, like, are you okay? I mean, this is kind of what we talked about. Like, are you okay with the consolation prize? Are you okay taking D'Angelo Russell? Like, is that really the way you want your rebuild to go?
Not the consolation prize. The consolation prize is Kemba Walker.
So this is like your you didn't get the hot girl, you didn't get her hot friend. You're winding up taking home the chick you can get at 2 a.m. with D'Angelo Russell. Is that what this is?
Give me Kemba, then D'Angelo Russell.
And you thought so, but that's what I'm saying is you think if the Knicks don't get Kemba, they don't get Kyrie, they end up with D'Angelo Russell. Are you happy with that as your rebuild? Because again, you're not getting D'Angelo Russell cheap. It's not like you're gonna get a friendly contract from him. That's gonna be a big contract. That means you're not signing 2 superstars.
No, well, it depends. Am I waiting a year for Kevin Durant, or am I just going? Or Kevin Durant's in Oakland?
But here's basically the scenario that I'm kind of laying out right now. Right? It's like the Knicks had this big wish list: Zion Williamson, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. You know, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler. You know all the names, right?
I've been here for years.
Again, and from what it looks like right now, the best chance they have to upgrade their team is taking Kevin Durant, who's probably not playing this year. If Kevin Durant even still wants to go there, which, you know, like you said, we're hearing rumblings he may want to go cross down to Brooklyn and all that. But, you know, you get an injured Kevin Durant, and then Kemba signed somewhere else, Kyrie signed somewhere else, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, all the big names, superstars. That means that you're now giving a superstar kind of contract to D'Angelo Russell.
They said they're not going to do that no more. They said they're not doing that. They said they'll keep the money, build out the rest of the roster. But I think you don't have to max D'Angelo. You know what I'm saying?
Now, he's going to get it from somebody. He's going to get it from somebody. D'Angelo Russell's going to get, if not max, though, he's going to get close to it. He's going to get 20-something million. And that's what I'm saying. Do you want to tie up 20-something million for 4 years on the D'Angelo Russell?
I would. At this point, I would. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I would. I think, you know, it's not like it's not like bringing Phil Jackson in there. Put it like this. I trust the people in charge more than I ever have in the past. Now, that happened yesterday with them keeping the Daily News out of the press conference for R.J. Barrett. See, that's the stupid shit that people outside the organization, players see that. And they're like, what the hell is going on there? Listen. You don't want Daily News writing bad about you. Don't be an inept franchise for 2 decades.
Yeah.
I worry about Benny. That pisses me off.
Yeah, and honestly, the worst part about that is I'm not buying the New York Post because that's a freaking tabloid right now. So if you're not going to talk to the Daily News, I'm not going to know anything about the Knicks because I sure as hell am not going to be forced into paying $2 for a goddamn New York Post because that's a worse newspaper than the Daily News.
No, the New York
newspapers in general just suck right now. Like if you're running a newspaper right now, you know you might as well be selling fucking rotary phones. Like seriously, your business is dying. Just give it up.
You might as well watch Sean Hannity before you buy the New York Post.
Pretty much what you're getting with the New York Post. That's why.
New York Post is. Speaking of New York, moving right along, the New York Mets, Benny.
Now I don't want to hate on the Mets, right? Like I got a lot of friends that are Mets fans.
I do too.
I want them to succeed. Like I really, you know, like I hate the New York Giants. I'm happy when they suck, but like I really don't hate the New York Mets as a Yankees fan. I don't at all. But I mean, tell me what's good. Give me what's good about this friend. Pete Alonso. Let's start with something good because the rest of this conversation is not going to be good. But you know, Pete Alonso is a good player. I like him. Jacob deGrom is not bad. I like him. All right, go ahead, Corey. Now we can start the conversation.
Fights with managers and reporters and players, crazy apologies and apologizing again. And now this thing with the general manager making in-game decisions from his house, texting staff members. This is not serious, is it? This is a New York Met Twilight Zone.
No, I mean, it's serious, and it's seriously bad, and that's the problem right now. I mean, again, we could start wherever you want to start. We could start with, Bernie Madoff screwing over the Wilpons and them going broke, and then, really just seeing this team just kind of nosedive from there with them trying to sell shares of the team to rich people to try to raise money so they can sign free agents and them taking the frugal approach. I mean, you can't be a small market team in New York City and expect people to, not be upset about it after a long haul. I mean, they have done everything wrong from, mismanaging injuries to mismanaging players to mismanaging contracts, trades. I mean, the big trade they made, the big splash in the offseason, getting Robinson Cano. Cano looks incredibly disinterested. He's not even running out ground balls. Like, I mean, it honestly feels like every button they push is the wrong button to have pushed, and it's just getting worse and worse. But here's the real question that I have for you, Corey, with this whole situation. Even Met fans right now realize that this is kind of a lost season. Are the Mets going to be sellers at the deadline? Okay, so then who are they selling? Are you getting rid of Syndergaard right now? Are you getting rid of Wheeler right now? I assume other than DeGrom and Pete Alonso, everybody else in that roster to me is up for sale.
I would say the same thing. Everybody except DeGrom and Alonso are players that can go. Robinson Cano, they would gladly walk him to the door. You know what I'm saying?
They will even pay you $10 million to take that contract off.
Yeah, for real. Basically, that's the situation that they got right there. That didn't work out at all. Nothing really works out, to be honest with you. So, the pieces on that New York Mets team are going to be pieces that, they're probably going to, knowing the Mets, they're going to dangle those pieces to the Houston Astros.
I fully expect the Yankees to be facing Noah Syndergaard in the ALCS this year.
Exactly. The Mets are going to be on the phone with the Houston Astros, more or less saying, listen, you can't beat them, join them. You know what I'm saying? So
you know what? The trade is going to be for, like, somebody that the Astros don't even consider a major. It's going to be like Tyler White. Yep. It's going to be like Tyler White and 2 AA pitchers for Noah Syndergaard.
And that's the reason why I have no shame in rooting against that franchise, because I guarantee you their goal will now become, okay, let's see how we can make the Houston Astros stronger instead of how we can do the best thing for the New York Mets. So there you go right there. It's a disaster, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to continue to be. Before we get to some World Cup stuff and a little bit of baseball for the day, Benny, I found some interesting football props, player futures that I wanted to get your opinion on. I'm going to start with the MVP. Pat Mahomes comes in at plus 600 to win the MVP. Andrew Luck is at plus 900. Drew Brees and Tom Brady plus 1,000.
I mean, if I'm taking a quarterback, it's going to be Pat Mahomes. I mean, when it comes down to quarterbacks winning an MVP, you got to put up eye-popping numbers, right? Mahomes is the guy that's going to put up the eye-popping numbers. Drew Brees, they're using the running game right there. I love Andrew Luck, but I don't trust Andrew Luck enough to put up eye-popping kind of numbers and win the whole thing. If I'm taking any of those numbers, it's going to be Mahomes at plus 600.
What about Baker Mayfield at plus 1,500?
I'd rather take Baker than any of the other 3 not named Mahomes that you talked about.
Any of the other 3 not named Mahomes?
Yeah, I'd rather take Baker. To me, would be second on that list. I would take him over Brady. I would take him over Brees. I would take him over Luck.
Deshaun Watson plus 3,400.
No, it's just I don't think it's going to happen. So no.
Matt Ryan plus 2,600.
Again, no.
Ezekiel Elliott plus 3,400.
I see. Now we're starting to get into different things. Now we're talking, running back
award. But yeah, here's a running back that if the Dallas Cowboys are a 12-13 win team, who's the MVP? Is it Dak Prescott? Is it Ezekiel Elliott?
It's going to be if they're a 13-3 team, you're probably looking at over 2,000 total yards from Ezekiel Elliott. 1,500 plus rushing and probably a couple more, 400 or 500 receiving, with easily into double-digit touchdowns is what it's going to need. And Dak Prescott is not going to put up numbers big enough to justify an MVP award. So if the Dallas Cowboys are the team that runs away with it and goes 13-3, 14-2, it's going to be on the back of Ezekiel Elliott.
I agree with you on that one, Benny. But it's like, who's the last running back to win the MVP? You got to go. I can't even name it, to be honest with you. And Emmitt Smith never won an MVP.
I'm trying to think of somebody who had like a huge touchdown season that might have done it, but
LaDainian Tomlinson, that's who it is.
Okay, I actually almost said Marshall Faulk. I was thinking that far back though. Like that's probably when you're talking about it.
So that's who it was right there. And you're right. He has to have that type of season, which he's capable of.
You're going to probably need, in order to win an MVP as a running back right now, you're probably going to need like a 20 touchdown season.
Yeah.
Which is around what LaDainian Tomlinson had when he did that, I think.
Alvin Kamara, another interesting name, but I don't see Alvin Kamara winning the award over Drew Brees.
My biggest problem with the Saints, and again, not that I don't like the Saints. I do like the Saints. But my problem with them for an award like this is there are too many pieces. You know, when you have a team that has too many –
Thomas, yep.
You know, like the Warriors. The Warriors have a lot of great players. But you're never going to get an MVP off that team the way it's currently constructed because they're all sharing the ball. With Drew Brees there, Kamara may have a great season, but you're going to have, Mike Thomas is going to have a great season too. Brees is going to find all those other guys and have good numbers. They're all going to have very good numbers, but nobody's going to have like Pat Mahomes this year. If that running game, I know we're all really high on Damian Williams and all that, but if that running game isn't as good as it was last year, you may need to see Mahomes put up 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in order for them to stay in a lot of these games. And if that's the case, he's the clear-cut MVP for the Kansas City Chiefs.
No doubt. And the Chiefs, though, they have a division that they're able to come out of. It's just a matter of the Chiefs basically take me to January and let me know when Andy Reid's going to mess it up. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. They had that game at home last year against New England, and, they still couldn't get the job done. But the Chiefs are definitely a team that's going to be in the mix. And don't forget, this Tyreek Hill thing is looking more and more like Tyreek Hill could very well be exonerated from this and not miss any time. He's supposed to be in New York today, meeting with the NFL.
I was going to say, what is your read on now jail time and like the legal thing? I think he's pretty much out of the clear on. Yeah. But what's your read on the NFL's reaction to it? You still think they're going to suspend them?
They use it they may say it's something domestic went down here.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL is not going to want to get caught up in court with this. They may say, listen, something domestic went down here. We want to give you 6 games. And Tyreek Hill will probably say, I'm going to go to court if you do that. And the NFL say, okay, we'll give you 3 games. The NFL negotiates against itself.
I mean, again, when you're basically you're punishing somebody when, we live in a country where you're supposed to be innocent.
Not going to punish them. You know what I'm saying? And that makes it difficult.
Let me ask you a question, because we had this argument the other day. If this was Tom Brady or Andrew Luck, do you think there's anything that comes of this if they're proven innocent? There's no court case. Do you think one of those guys still gets suspended?
No, those are 2 biggest stars. They don't have to protect those guys. They're 2 biggest stars.
But why is it? I mean, no offense, but why is it not Tyreek? Why is Tyreek Hill not in that?
Because
Tyreek Hill, he's an all-pro. He's a superstar.
He's not a face of a franchise. He's not a quarterback.
True.
That's the thing about it.
All right, so let me change the question a little bit then. If this happens to Cam Newton, do you think he gets a suspension?
People don't like Cam Newton, but I don't think, you know what I'm saying? I don't even with it being, even Cam Newton being black, I still would say that the NFL will protect Cam Newton because quarterbacks are very valuable. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I know what you're saying, but I just think the whole thing is kind of bullshit.
No, it is. Trust me, it is. But they're going to look at Cam Newton. Put it like this. This is Russell. What if it's Russell Wilson?
There's a great example because everybody loves Russell Wilson.
They're going to protect Russell Wilson. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. So you don't think so? Really, what it comes down to is if you're a nice guy, you won't get suspended if you mess up. But if you kind of have a history of being an a-hole, you're going to get suspended if you do something wrong because the league wants to set an example with somebody who already has the image of being an a-hole.
Yeah. Listen, that's the bottom line. Is they don't mind vilifying Tyreek Hill they'd much rather protect a guy like a Russell Wilson.
I mean, again, I don't disagree with your take on it, but that's just wrong. You know what I mean? I agree with you, but it's just wrong.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Kyler Murray is 230, plus 230. Josh Jacobs is plus 600. Dwayne Haskins plus 1,000. Here's some interesting names right here, though. David Montgomery is plus 1,200. Miles Sanders plus 1,300. Mecole Hardman plus 1,800. That would be the Tyreek Hill replacement. Darrell Henderson, Los Angeles Rams running back, plus 2,000. Murray leads the pack, but the three running backs in here, Jacobs is really going about the third or fourth round in fantasy drafts right now. Montgomery and Miles Sanders are the guys that are going later on. Odds makers see these two players as rookie running backs, Benny, that could have a chance. I always tell fantasy owners this. A rookie running back will finish at least one will finish in the top 12.
Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this question. Who won the Rookie of the Year last year?
Last season's Rookie of the Year was Saquon Barkley.
Okay. For the most part, I don't think there's a dynamic offensive weapon of Saquon Barkley's ilk this year. So second place in the voting last year was who?
Baker Mayfield.
Because he's the quarterback.
Yep.
I really don't see Murray, a healthy Murray, not winning this award.
I think it's if you go to quarterback route, I think it's Dwayne Haskins.
Now, do you think he's going to be the starter from day one?
I think he if he doesn't start from day one, he starts in the first month of the season.
So here's my take on why I think it's Murray over Haskins, right? Mm-hmm. Washington has never been a team that's going to spread it around and air it out. Like, Haskins is not going to be asked to throw the ball 40, 45 times.
Okay.
He may wind up doing it because they're behind in some games, but that's not the way that they're going to play, right? They have a stable full of decent NFL running backs. You know, Darius Geis, somebody everybody wants to see. You still got Adrian Peterson there who, you know, again, is kind of young since he missed a couple years in the league and, you know, proved last year that he can still, you know, be a serviceable running back if you want to. When you look at Arizona, what is David Johnson's big, you know, upside as a running back? That he can catch passes out of the backfield. Well, that means that all those yards and touchdowns and those passes out of the backfield are going to end up on Murray's stats too. And like it or not, a lot of guys aren't watching the game and breaking down game film. A lot of the voters are sports writers who are just looking at the stats. And with that Kingsbury offense, I can't see how he doesn't have better stats than Haskins, barring injury. As long as he stays healthy, I don't see how he doesn't wind up with this award.
Okay, I can definitely dig that. I think the running backs, I think we see the three rookie running backs, and of course Darrell Henderson also that we can target in on as guys for fantasy, especially with the situation with Todd Gurley, Montgomery out there in Chicago. Yeah, Tariq Cohen is going to get a lot of the work, but Montgomery's the guy they got rid of Jordan Howard for. Miles Sanders is in a tough situation in Philadelphia because you don't know anything about the Philadelphia running backs and how are they going to be used. That's kind of always the MO. But the fact that the odds makers have him at plus 1,300 lets you know that they think he's going to be in the mix. And Josh Jacobs, the running back in Oakland, is a Marshawn Lynch clone coming in at plus 600. He could be the fantasy rookie running back to finish in the top 12 in 2019 when we look back at the season. So as far as the Haskins things go, Washington opens up with Philadelphia, Dallas, and then a Monday night game against the Bears. That Monday night game against the Bears, because they should be 0-2 at that point. That Monday night game against the Bears could be when we see Dwayne Haskins, and then you put Dwayne Haskins out there against a killer and old boy on the Bears, Khalil Mack. And week 4, DC travels to New York to play the Giants. So weeks 3 and week 4 are the 2 weeks that I would see. And then Haskins in the Meadowlands against a Giant team that passed on him, that could be interesting.
Well, see, I can see that being the time he starts. I mean, you don't really want to
put him out there against the Bears.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to throw him out there on Monday Night Football against that Bears defense and the pass rush that they can create. But it does make sense. And again, I mean, I think we're all kind of expecting him to get this job sooner rather than later. I want to go back and talk about the kid from Philly, though, Sanderson again.
Yeah.
because I noticed something yesterday. One thing I like to do while I'm starting to get ready for my drafts and stuff like that, which I haven't gone into any of my major drafts yet. We've done a couple like $10 best ball ones, and we did the one with the Guru Elite staff and stuff like that. But I try to look for the last 2 weeks. Like, they break down ADP and you can look at it over time frames. So I look at the last 2 weeks and I try to see guys that have been moving way up the board from where they originally were. Now, like when drafts started about a month or two ago, he was like barely on the radar. But this guy's up to like top 30 running back right now, meaning that people almost look at him like he's a star. I mean, again, there's 32 teams in the league. So if you're up in the 30 range, people are looking at you like you're a starter or most likely starter. What are you really expecting out of this kid? Because I've always been of the mindset that I don't want to touch I don't care how good you are. I don't want to touch a Philly running back because they're going to use 4 or 5 guys and you have no idea which one's going to get it. Do you think this kid can become maybe not a bell cow or a 25 carry a game workhorse, but like what kind of touch numbers do you expect him from?
Yes, that's what the thing. He's going to have to do a lot of work in the passing game, which they say he can do that. I don't know if Carson Wentz wants to do that, number one. That's
right.
Not Carson Wentz's game. Carson Wentz finds Zach Ertz in the middle of the field and then maybe even do some running on his own along with Nelson Aguilar and players like that. He's not, like you said, I don't see him being a workhorse at all. He's going to have to get that goal line work. But the fact that he will be on the field, he'll probably get about 60% of the snaps. I think he can be 60% of the snaps, and I think you may be able to see 4 or 5 targets in his direction in the game. And basically the rest is kind of on what he can do with the football in his hands.
So here's the important question, though. If we really want him to succeed on the Eagles with Carson Wentz, does he go to Bible study or not?
There you go right there, because we know we're dealing with Wentz. Listen, that's who they are. As we move throughout the summer, we'll kind of break it down and focus on them some more. Most passing yards, Pat Mahomes at plus 360, Matt Ryan second at plus 500, Andrew Luck third at plus 700.
So, again, whether or not you want to take any of these bets we can talk about that for months before we really have to make the decision. But the interesting part of this to me, Corey, is that Matt Ryan listed as second basically means that they're expecting guys like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and even Freeman coming back from injury, who's a guy who catches passes out of the backfield. You got to be really high on the Atlanta pass catchers this year. Even a guy like Hooper, the tight end, if you're expecting Matt Ryan to be anywhere near and even compete with and possibly beat Mahomes to be the, passing yardage leader in the league this year, you got to be expecting some insane numbers out of all those guys.
Yeah, and that's why this is very interesting to see him up there second. And Matt Ryan is he's going to be not trendy, but I can see a lot of people want Matt Ryan to be their fantasy quarterback this year. Dirk Cutter and Matt Ryan have done great work in the past. So Matt Ryan is definitely a very intriguing guy. Aaron Rodgers is at plus 800 along with Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben's going to wing it a lot. You know that for a fact. I just don't see Aaron Rodgers. I'm kind of off of this year. I need to see him be healthy. Roethlisberger kind of the same thing. Baker Mayfield plus 1,500 to lead the NFL in passing.
I mean, again, we love the weapons that Baker Mayfield has, right? I mean, you got a good tight end, you got a good outside receiver, you got a good slot receiver, you got a couple of running backs that can catch the ball and make things happen with it. So I don't think Baker's crazy. Just you got to think about the offenses that these teams run too when you want to put it up there. Like Atlanta, I could see Matt Ryan going off because every time they play on turf, they put up some insane numbers and they play a lot of games on turf being, that's their home field. We saw obviously the way that KC's offense ran last year and the numbers they were able to put up. I think people are kind of sleeping on Mahomes a little bit because everybody was expecting Tyreek Hill to be out, but Tyreek Hill's playing. So, whether he may miss a couple games, but I think he's going to be there for most, if not all of this season. So you're still going to get a lot of those long passes. And let's face it, the way that offense runs with everybody spread out, you can make anybody a pretty decent fantasy option or fantasy receiver if you're running and catching passes from Pat Mahomes.
No doubt. So there you go right there. I'm looking at a situation where if I was to put something on this list, I'd take the Pat Mahomes is the bet.
It really is.
Basically the bet. Rushing yards. Ezekiel Elliott is plus 300. Saquon Barkley plus 360. Third, is a tie between Joe Mixon and Chris Carson. These are both Mixon is on that 1-2 turn right now, or you normally see him in the second round. Carson is probably somewhere on that 3-4 turn. Those are the only guys, in my opinion, that can win it. Todd Gurley's at plus 1,600. Le'Veon Bell also at plus 1,600. I think Le'Veon Bell, I like Le'Veon Bell a lot, but I think he may struggle with Adam Gase. You know what I'm saying? Every season that Ezekiel Elliott has been in the NFL, he's led the NFL in rushing.
This is straight rushing yards, not total yards, right?
Straight rushing yards.
Straight rushing yards, I take Zeke over Saquon Barkley. If it was total yards, I think I would take Barkley over Zeke because, you know, the passing and the catching and all that stuff, which is also why I took Barkley number 1 overall and, you know, when I had the number 1 overall pick in the Elite Fantasy Draft, because I think he'll have more catches, which is going to be more PPR points, but straight rushing yards, I think Zeke is the guy. I mean, there are very few teams in the league that want to pound the run 20, 25 times a game and give it all to one back. Dallas Cowboys are a team that'll do that. They have a big, strong offensive line, even though it's not as good as it had been in the past. And you still got a very good running back. So you have a very good line and a very good running back. You should be looking to pound the ball. So
yeah, I think Zeke is the bet. Interesting, though, is Chris Carson and Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Carson, let's start with Carson, Benny. Seahawk running back. Another team that wants to run the football a lot.
Yep.
Carson good enough to finish in that 12 to 1,300 yard range, or even 11 to 1,200 yard range.
I'm not even going to say good enough. I don't think the question is good enough. I think he's good. I think the question is healthy enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Right now, he's not even practicing in the OTAs, and they said they're not even sure if he's going to be ready, you know, for preseason. So, I mean, again, not saying that the guy won't be ready for the start of the year, but, you know, when you have – I don't like drafting guys for fantasy that are coming into the season with an injury.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's hard enough to make it through 16 games when you're completely healthy to start with. When you're starting with an injury, it's even tougher. So, again, do I think he's going to be productive? Absolutely when he's in there. But I don't know if he's going to be able to be in there. I mean, that's kind of been the problem with Seattle the last couple of years is, you know, guys pop up and have a couple big games and then they get hurt and it's next man up. So it's nice for the next man up because the offense is run-centric, but you got to stay healthy if you want to be the guy that benefits from it.
The only thing that you can bank on in Seattle is Russell Wilson. I'd be careful with just about anything else. Regular season receiving yards, Julio Jones is at plus 600. DeAndre Hopkins at plus 750. Mike Evans at plus 1,200, along with Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I like all those guys. Julio, as long as you didn't say touchdowns, I can take Julio.
Yeah.
Because Julio's a guy that'll have 8 catch, 190-yard games, but, he's getting double teamed down in the end zone every time right now because teams just know that one-on-one it's tough to cover this guy. So he hasn't been the touchdown scorer. His presence has opened it up for other guys, the Hoopers, the Ridleys, to get all the touchdowns. That Mohamed Sanu has done this a lot as well because these guys are the ones getting one-on-one coverage down there. So yards-wise, I'm fine with Julio. And again, these are all the guys that are coming off the board kind of first at wide receiver, right? I mean, you're talking Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, who the other two said, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans. Yeah.
Best value right now because you can get Evans sometime on that 2-3 turn. He's the best value. I think Mike Evans is going to have a tremendous season. Odell Beckham is at plus 1,200 along with Mike Evans. A lot of weapons in that offense, though. But Odell's going to have a monster season. I think he's the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. Smith-Schuster and Michael Thomas at plus 13. Smith-Schuster, Michael Thomas, and T.Y. Hilton, all at plus 1,300. T.Y., all of those are good bets right there. Michael Thomas, so consistent. Smith-Schuster, dynamic young playmaker. T.Y. Hilton, one of the rocks of Andrew Luck's offense. Antonio Brown at plus 1,400 is interesting. I was with Michael Salfino, our boy Mike Salfino, a couple weeks ago. And Michael Salfino was talking about, I don't know if you buy into stuff like this. John Gruden has a track record of having productive wide receivers at their age in their early 30s, which I was like, Wes, never heard that kind of breakdown.
That's a little bit deeper than I look into it, but okay.
Yes, he went by the age. He said between the ages of like 30 and 32 on John Gruden-led teams, that wide receiver is a 150 target guy.
I don't know about that, but I'll throw another stat in that does kind of go along the same lines here. You know, we talked about what happens when a team has a number one receiver that joins another number one receiver, right? We talked about that when we talked about like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Normally, one guy remains an alpha and still puts up the same kind of numbers, and the other guy's numbers struggle. There's also a flip side to that coin, though. When you have a team that doesn't have an alpha and then all of a sudden gets one, that guy's targets tend to be as high, if not higher, than they were the year before.
Yep.
So you're now putting, you know, Brown on a team that didn't really have – who was the alpha receiver after they got rid of Cooper? Who was the alpha receiver? Was it Jordy Nelson? Was it Seth Roberts? Like, you know, I mean, exactly. Like Cook, the tight end, was probably their alpha receiver. So there's definitely the room here for somebody to be a 10 to 15 target a game kind of guy. And Antonio Brown has already shown that he can be that kind of guy in Pittsburgh. So I don't think it's crazy. There are things that point to him, you know, seeing a ton of passes coming his way, especially if you don't think the Raiders are going to be that good. If the Raiders aren't going to be that good, you're trailing in a lot of games, then that means you're throwing in a lot of games. And if you don't have a lot of weapons, you're going to go to the ones that, you know, are your best. And if Brown's the best weapon, I don't think expecting 150, 160 targets out of him is crazy this year.
There you go right there. So you can bet on those. Those odds come from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Don't forget EliteSportsBetting.com. Hop in there right now. Take advantage of the discounts. Guys are rocking and rolling for Major League Baseball season. Benny, what do we got on the prize picks front today before we get into the World Cup and the baseball picks?
Yeah, basically what I was looking at on prize picks, you know, again, what I try to do is find teams that I like, and then I want to try to take advantage of, you know, those teams. So the Phillies and the Brewers, who are two teams that I like betting-wise today to bet the run total over 5.5 runs for both of them. Those are the guys that I'm going to be looking at. So when I go over to prize picks, I'm going to be looking for guys in the Phillies, guys in the Brewers. There's a couple good pitching matchups you can look at today. I don't know. Do they have Max Scherzer or Garrett Cole on there?
I'm looking it up right now.
If you have Scherzer or Cole on there, those are two guys that I think can get you over 50 FanDuel points today. And that's basically the scoring they use on my prize picks is the FanDuel scoring system. So pitcher-wise, the only guys that I'm really interested in are guys like Cole and Scherzer. And then, you know, bats-wise, anybody we can get on like the Phillies or the Brewers, those are guys that I'd really be interested in there.
So more or less, you're telling me that you are in on Bryce Harper at over 10. You are in on Max Scherzer at over 50. And you are in on Trey Turner at over 9.
Yeah, Trey Turner and Max Scherzer especially are oh wait, Trey Turner?
Yeah.
No. I don't know if I want the Washington offense.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the color of the hat. My bad.
No. I mean, I definitely would take Harper on that one. The kid that's pitching for the Mets, Walker Lockett, this is a guy who's been bouncing around AAA for like the last 3 or 4 years, and he hasn't even been great. He's got like a 4.5 to 5 xFIP in AAA. He's had like 2 cups of coffee in the major leagues. One this year with the Mets, one a couple years ago with the Padres for like 20 innings or so, and he's gotten lit up every time he's been out there. So the Phillies should have 6 runs by the 3rd inning today. So I like the Phillies first 5. I like the Phillies over 5.5. Anything that has to do with the Philly offense today is something that should be able to help make you money.
All right, there you go right there. And you can do the same thing on my prize picks. Bryce Harper and Max Scherzer, both of them out there today. You can parlay those two guys together. All right, Benny, what we got? WWC, what we got, Benny?
Yeah, so you know,
I can already tell you you're not going to be you're not rooting for China, are you?
No, yeah, we're definitely not rooting for China here. So listen, the Women's World Cup today actually sets up very nicely for a nice little parlay here that'll pay you some decent money. In the first round, China played 3 games, so 270 minutes of soccer. They scored 1 goal. They had a tie because it was 0-0. They won 1 game, 1-0. So defensively, they're kind of decent, but they play with like everybody back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like when you were playing dodgeball as a kid. China's strategy is we're going to have everybody stand against the wall since the other team can't cross half court, and we're going to make you throw the ball 50 feet and try to hit one of us from that far away. So this game is definitely going under. I think the over-under is like 1.5 goals. It's going under. The problem is I don't see China scoring. So to me, it's going to be some kind of penalty that happens in the box that gets a goal for Italy, and Italy winds up winning this game. So it could even wind up going into – this is a game that I wouldn't be shocked if it went to, like, penalty kicks, because China's just going to play defense the entire time and put everybody in the middle, you know, basically in the box and try to keep Italy from scoring. And Italy, they're decent, but they don't have, like – there's certain teams that have – like the U.S. has 2 or 3. France has a couple. We'll talk about the girl on the Netherlands in a minute. Like, there's certain teams that just have goal scorers that, you know, are going to wind up figuring out a way to get a goal one way or another. Italy doesn't really have that. They have like a bunch of like decent girls. Like, they're not a high-powered offense, but China just can't score. So to me, Italy's going to win this game 1-0. So I like the under and I like the Italian side, but I actually want to play it draw no bet, because I would not be shocked if you watch 90 minutes of soccer and it ends up 0-0.
And so, okay, but draw no bet, right? If you have Italy at -186 and draw no bet, that's a voided bet at that point, correct?
Yes. You don't win any money, but you don't lose any money. If you have Italy at, I think Italy's +130 to win, and it ends 0-0 in regulation, you lose your money.
What do you think about the regulation draw at +210?
I don't think it's a crazy bet, but I don't like betting draws, because then you're just rooting for nothing to happen. No, and if I have to sit and watch 90 minutes of women's soccer and root for nothing to happen, you might find me like you might find me going crazy by the end of the day. So
you have to watch
it. grab a sack. If you're worried about a tie, take the draw no bet. Otherwise, grab a sack, take the +130 on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I agree with you. Just go ahead and pull up and root for the Italian girls to get it done in regulation. Netherlands and Japan, also the Day Women's World Cup. Netherlands are the favorite at +100. Japan, the underdog at +290.
Oh, absolutely love Netherlands in this matchup here. So Japan is a lot like China, right? In the first round, in 3 games, they only scored 2 goals. So this is not a team that you expect to go on and move forward. The Netherlands is talented, and the Netherlands has one of those girls in Vivian. I always say her name wrong. Medema, whatever it is.
Yeah.
She's very, very good. Like, she's one of the best players in the world. She's one of the best strikers in the world, one of the best goal scorers in the world. So I do expect them to score. I think Japan's going to struggle to score. The Netherlands should win this game. When I saw that it was -103, I was all over it. Don't even mess with the draw no bet in this one, which is like -240. This one, you definitely want to take the Netherlands. And here's why I said what I said at the beginning with a nice parlay for you. You can take Italy on DraftKings is -165 for draw no bet. What'd you say it was on FanDuel? -180?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Netherlands is the Netherlands to win, not to draw no bet, just Netherlands to win is -103 on DraftKings. What was it on FanDuel?
The Netherlands, you mean the Netherlands or even money, +100?
All right, so +100. So it'll play off about the same thing, because you're getting a little bit better odds on Netherlands on FanDuel and a little bit better odds on Italy on DraftKings. On DraftKings, I took Netherlands -103 and Italy draw no bet at -165. That's a 219 parlay. Place 2-1 on your money for the parlay. Nice. And I really don't see any way that China or Japan win these games. So,
but see, here's the thing, Benny. Where I'm confused is if it's a draw, okay, it doesn't then that falls off.
That gets knocked off, and you basically end up with the Netherlands at even money.
Okay, cool. But I see what you're saying. It's worth a shot because Italy very well should win the game. You know what I'm saying?
But like I said, there is, to me, the best chance China has is to keep this game 0-0, or if Italy gets an early goal and China's scrambling and they catch a goal to send it to overtime. So taking the draw, I don't think China can win. So I'm willing to take the draw no bet on Italy because I assume Italy's going to win, but I don't think Italy can lose. So worst case scenario, I end up with an even money bet on the Netherlands, which is something I was going to do anyway.
Now, let me ask you this, Benny. As far as betting the total, I'm looking at it as over under a half a goal, over under a goal and a half, over under 2.5 goals.
Right.
So it's 3 shots. Okay. Which one is the best bet? Under this is regulation.
I mean, obviously, under 2.5 is the best bet, but it comes down to the odds that we're getting on it. So what are the odds they're giving?
-178.
On 2.5?
Under 2.5.
What's the odds on 1.5?
+172.
+172 on under 1.5?
Yeah.
That's the goal you want because there's a very, very good chance Italy wins this game 1-0. You look at China's games. In
the whole game, or that's regulation, that bet.
Now, see, I'm going to be honest with you. This is the tough thing for me because I bet a lot of soccer during like the regular season, right? And in the regular season, after 90 minutes, the game's over. In these tournaments, you have penalty kicks, you have, overtime. You have things that you don't normally have during the regular season when you're betting Champions League or you're betting, just a regular Barclays League or stuff like that. So I'm going to be honest with you, Corey, because I don't want to give the wrong information. You need to make sure you find that out from whoever you're betting with.
No doubt.
Because there are offshore sports books that will count penalty goals, and that'll be their over-under. Yep. There are offshore short sports books that it's 90 minutes regulation, it's done. Everything's kind of different. It's one of the house rules depending on, where you're playing and how they handle it. And it's not something that I've done enough because basically the World Cup comes along once every 4 years. And I've literally never made a Women's World Cup bet before this year. And I'm only doing it because it's easy to do now that, gambling in my state is legal.
There you go right there. So hop in on that if you want to get some action on that one. We're good to go, I think. I was about to bring one more thing up, Benny, about this. So, yeah, definitely. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. My homeboy, the guy he goes to, you can add on to your parlay throughout the course of, like, say I like something tonight. Mm-hmm. I can bet that, and then I can put, like, 2 placeholders. And I can pick up those placeholders and put them in that slot as I move along through the course of a couple of days. So, say I want a 3-team parlay. I like the Yankees tonight, but I don't like nothing else. I can wait till tomorrow to add another team to that, and then the next day to add another team to that.
That's actually a pretty cool concept. I don't think you would ever be able to do that on DraftKings, FanDuel, like one of those books.
In a regulated space, that might be tough.
Yeah, because I think that they would have to be some kind of – there would be a lot of rules that go along with it, right? Like there'd have to be some kind of limit between when the first bet is made and how many days you have to make the second and third. And, they're like basically the books are trying to control their risk. So they want to know like who, are you, did you pick a -200 favorite that won here? That's not going to hurt them. But if your next 2 bets are going to be a +5,000 favorite and a +400 favorite where, if the 2 of them hit along with your -200 bet, they're on the hook for, 1,000 times their money. They're going to want to know that up front in order to manage their risk. So I don't think you'd ever get that with the regulated sports book. But then again, listen, there's always a place for the underground market, right? Whether we're talking drugs or gambling or whatever, I know people who still bet with their bookies, even though they live in New Jersey and could easily have accounts because you know what their bookie doesn't do? Doesn't charge them tax at the end of the year if they have a big hit. So, getting rid of the illegal gambling is not as easy as people think it's going to be.
Some people all the time, anything that you can find on the street, you can find in prison. So there you go right there. You know what I'm saying? All right, so Benny, big piece of chicken, pretty easy one for me. I'm going to give it to my man, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Congratulations to him on an MVP season.
Yeah, I'm giving mine to Megan Rapinoe for saving my ass yesterday with 2 penalty shots to get the U.S. to win. Because I had the U.S. women parlayed with literally every other bet that I made. So if they would have lost that game or even tied and not won that game yesterday, it would have been a horrendous night for me. Instead of just a somewhat bad night after Costa Rica lost to goddamn Haiti, which, I don't know. You should lose your countryhood if you lose to Haiti.
For my baby man, Benny Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, the opening line, we are out.